She's from Belgium. And we collaborated on a whole series of workshops in London, Belgium,
Stockholm.
Sweden, which were kind of like activist workshops, all about social lighting. So I will leave Isabelle to explain, and then when she finishes, there's an opportunity for you to ask her some questions. So we'd like you to think of questions while she's speaking. Not yet.
Is it switched on? That's
Try speaking.
Hello? Do you hear me?
Yes.
It's okay now?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
there
on.
you go.
Okay.
You're on.
So, thank you to invite me, Sharon and Martin, to begin this morning. It was very impressive to start this morning with my talk. And I choose to share with you my experience with urban lighting. And I choose to talk about three words that are very important in my professional work. It's light, architecture, and people. So I have a lot of different projects of urban lighting, and I was thinking which one I'm gonna share with you this morning. And I choose one in a square in Antwerp, that is a city in north of Belgium. It's the Morkensplein in Antwerp. And as you see in this picture, it's a very crowded place. They called it in Antwerp the Molenbeek of Antwerp. So you see also the negative connotation of this neighborhood. But we love to work in this kind of neighborhood, and I will explain this morning how we do that, how we connect with people, and how after we lead architecture in relation with the people who live there. But first, I think it's important to share with you who I am. I am an architect. I began in 1989, a long time ago. I begin with architecture, and then after urbanism, and I start to work in light. It was in 1995 with a project in Brussels with Roger Narboni in a lighting master plan of the Tracé Royal. It was a long road between the two palaces of the King of Belgium. And to describe how is my work, I like this picture. It's a picture of the New Year Eve of 2020 in main COVID. We were all inside of a house, and there was in the great square of Brussels a funambulist walking alone in the night and in the rain. And I think it's maybe a picture of how we work, like we are in between of different profession. We are working sometime alone, and we must go straight ahead, and sometime in the night and in the rain. So I started to work in light in 1995, but I started my own company in 2001. In the same time, I had twins, so it was very strong. I found my company so alone. You see in that picture, I was alone. And then after I moved in 3 different places in Brussels, and then I moved to Liège, and you see I have more and more people. And in 2021, it was the 20th anniversary of my company. And well, I decided to found a branch in Marseille, maybe to have a better weather than in Brussels. So if I could describe my work and what I do every day in a word, I could say that it's transmission. Transmission in my office, that is Radiant 35, because I'm very concerned to share with all the people that work with me and work together and find new idea, and also with people that live on site. You will see later our participatory tools. But more than that, I think that we must share with a lot of people and transmission to be more, in a way, clever. So on the left side, you see the picture of the executive master that I co-founded with some people of the University of Brussels to teach lighting designer, because in Brussels, in Belgium, and even in France, there is not so many university that give classes of urban lighting. So we decided to found that. And in the other part of the picture, you have the association that I'm member of in the center, president. And I think it's very important to be linked with a lot of people. You see Lucy, for example, that is the Lighting Urban Community International. I'm member of this association since, I don't remember, almost 20 years. And it's very important because it's an association of cities, more cities than lighting designers, but that work in urban lighting, and so you can share your experience with them, and I think it's very important. The association in the center is the Lighting Designer Without Border, and I'm president of this association from 10 years ago. And this is an association of about 50 members, but 15 working. And we work for free in also transmission to while people that don't have money to have lighting designer, and so we share with them our knowledge and we transmit it also. You have here a picture of a project in Haiti, but we work also in many projects, for example in Paris, with a project of the Armée du Salut. So we share and we try to help in social project. And then just below you have the picture of the social light movement. And if you recognize, we are together with Sharon and Martin, and also Joran, Eric, and Elettra. It was, I think, in 2008, when I was in the workshop in Liverpool, that I met you, I think. And I met also Joran and Eric, and we were talking about how to spread the word about social lighting, how to do to convince towns to invest in some neighborhood that before they never invest. And so while we talk a lot, and we decide to found also a movement that is, it's like Women in Lighting. It's not an organization, it's a movement that we decide to found together. And we decide that it could be a good way to do workshop on site, and at the end of the workshop to show to the city how they can transform this kind of neighborhood, to convince them to invest in this neighborhood. Because it's easy to have an image, of, for example, of how a church is lit, but in some neighborhoods you don't have patrimonial sites, and so it's difficult for cities to imagine how they can do. And so, yeah, we start the first, you saw the picture of the first workshop that was in Liège, then after we've done the one in Stockholm, then after the one in London. So it's a way of working, and it works. because the project at the end give a real project. The cities invest in this neighborhood, and it was very important. But I talk, yes, about transmission, about how I found my company, but I'm not alone because to do all this job, we are all team, and so we are all together. Now there is one more, a new man in the team, but you see that we are a good team of architect, interior architect, engineer, anthropologist, landscape architect, and well, we try to have different projects. We work, so I said, maybe only exterior lighting, the urban and heritage building. That is the one of our projects. You have the picture of the Grand Place of Brussels. That is one of the most big project that we had, but we work also in lighting master plan because well, we have I'm urbanist, but we have two other urbanists in the team, so we work a lot in town planning light, but we work also in a very special project that you see, for example, this tunnel in a district of Brussels that we work to make it safer, in a way of a sense of safety. But come back to the project of this square in Antwerp. So when we start a project, we analyze every time in the same way. It means that we analyze first the site in itself, the architecture, the landscape, how we see the place, how we discover it, what are the materials, all that kind of stuff in an architectural and urbanist way. The second themes, it's on the links, is the users. Because if they are not users, we don't need to lit the place. Even more now with the energetical crisis and the biodiversity. So it's very important to know when there are people and where they are and what they feel. You will see later how we do that. And then after the third themes is the light. Of course, it's very important to know in which environment we are, because when you work on an architectural project, sometimes you cannot change the surrounding of public lighting, so it's very important to know how it is. So the language in Antwerp is the Flemish, so you will have some slides in Flemish. So that's the first approach that we do to understand the place. We go a lot on site. It's very useful Google Map and Street View, but it's never enough, and you must go on site to understand the feeling of the place. You see also on the left picture that you have how the natural light is on the place also with Google Street View. You don't have that, so you must go on site. And so we go on site, we see how the place, you see that is in a way a little square with a big town hall in the center. It's one of the districts of Antwerp. There is 19 districts, and that is one of the districts. So it's the town hall of the district. Then also we analyze with historical picture how was the history of this place. The architectural place, but also the town planning, how the street came on the place. So it can inspire us after to do the project. You see on the picture on the left that is a big poles, and that was the first lighting poles in Belgium. It was on that square, so it was very impressive. So remember this picture for later. Then, of course, because the first the town of Antwerp in the competition asked first to lead the building. That was the first ask, and we work also on the square, but the building was the most important for them. So yeah, we analyze the style, we analyze like, it's like, you see, it's like a scan to see which details we could lead. So we analyze all the place and the materials. You have red bricks and white stone. So we analyze that. We analyze how is it viewed with the natural light to have all the information. And also, we discover going inside of the building and seeing from outside that one of the particularity of this building was the stained glasses, and there was a lot of different stained glasses on the building. And so remember also this picture for later to understand how we are inspired with the existing situation. It was also interesting in this project, and maybe it's why I choose this one, because it's more complex in a way that it's not only leading an existing architecture. We have a lot of projects of that, but in this project it was also, we work with two architects, one that was transforming the old square, so we were also in charge of leading this new square. And you see here in this picture, if I can do it, I can do it? No, it's not a problem. So you see that before there was a road all around the town hall, and after in the new project, the road it was only on one side of the place. So for living on that place is very different. So I told about two architects. The other one was working on the inside of the building to transform all the town hall in a new facilities for the user. So it was also important to understand that we don't have in charge to lead the inside of the building, but to lead the outside, you need to understand what is happening inside. So it was also very, very important to know that. So the first team is the site. The second team is the users. So how we do that? We go another time on site to understand what happens and when it happens. So we go, we observe in the square where there were different places with some bars and cafes, so there's some activity that's are there, but also there were in the center of the square, we saw a lot of people standing there, and we discover also, analyzing other square just nearby, that in that square there was a lot of family standing there by night. And you know, it's the same in Paris or in Brussels, almost the same, that in winter the night is falling down at 5 p.m. So it's important to think about that. And we analyze also at what time, for example, the bar and cafe closed. And we analyze because the building that was lit is a town hall, so they had also some night activity. It means night from 5 p.m. So we analyze also that to see when we gonna have windows with light. That was also very important. That is the first analysis of users. It's objective observation one, that is the first one. And the second one is, for me, maybe the most important, is, well, to understand how the people feel at night on site, what they want, what they fear about. And so from years, you have here the list, and the list is not finished because I saw yesterday it was only 2022, so we follow these participatory tools. So we had a lot of different experience to meet the people on site. It could be a walk on site, it could be a guerrilla lighting, we use these tools also. It could be a game, we invent a new game, a participatory game with that is called Nocturne, to play with this role game, and we play with the user to construct together a project. So we have a lot of different way of interact with people to understand how they feel. In Antwerp, it was a more, in a way, traditional tool that was the night walk. Because it was, you saw in my experience in participatory tools, I began in 2009, and it was in 2016. So I was only with night walk. Now I do a lot of more kind of participatory tools, but this one was a night walk. And well, because it was a square, we not go rounding about the building 1 hour. It could be very strange. So we decide to go on site and to see other square nearby this one, to have, well, the other atmosphere. So you see the night walk is around 1 hour on site, to understand with the users how they feel about that. So how it works? We start on a room. Sometimes it doesn't happen, so we start on the street if we don't have a room, to explain what we expect, why we need them to understand the place, and what we're gonna achieve after. So that was the explanation. Also, for the anecdote, it was the first time that I've done a night walk in Flemish. So I understand very well Flemish, but I don't speak so well. In 2016, even less than now. And also, for the anecdote, the Flemish have, in different parts, you have a lot of different accents. And I remember when I started the night walk, I was with someone and I didn't understand anything. So I was saying, oh my God, how can I do to have a connection with people if I don't understand? So I changed with another man, and then I understand, and I say, okay, I can do my night walk. So it's a challenge sometimes when you are doing that in another language than your own language. So we go on site and we discuss with people how they feel at night, how they if they change of for example, way by night, and why they are attracted by one way or another. So you see that that's the other square. We were in the other side. It's very different square, bigger square, and with more than, it's not a family square, it's more young people that are on the place. So we can do a comparison between the two squares. And then we do a report of the talk user, and it's a method that is not, in a way, it's a sociologist method, but it's not a representative method. It's like voices of users. But it's very important because in this kind of night walk, you are like very cool and people talk about different things, not only light. So it's like a really cool conversation on night, and you learn a lot about that. So you learn, this is in Flemish, like you see again. But what we learned, that's that the people on the place were very proud of the building, and they say, well, we are proud of our neighborhood, but we don't see it at night, and maybe by day it's very impressive, this town hall in the proportion of the square. So what could we do for that? And then they say also, could we have some colors on that place or not? So it was also interesting. So remember the 3 themes: 1, the sites; 2, the user; 3, the existing light. So that was the existing light. The town hall was not lit. It was before, but not when we start to work on the site. And so we do also different level of analyzing the light. The first one is the public lighting. As I say, sometimes you cannot change in a project the public lighting. We had the opportunity to change the public lighting on the square, but the main street that are going through the square, we cannot change it, so it's important to analyze first that. Then after what we called the verticality, it's also important to see what you have in your surrounding, because when you are on a site, you see some different verticality, and that's the way you guide you on the site, and it's very important to have that on mind. So, for example, here, while the higher level of the tower of the town hall was not lit, but you see that before it was lit. But you have also in the more human scale, you have also the light of the cafes and bar. This is very important to take it on mind. And so you have a map of all the different lights, and it's a schematic representation of that, but you understand better how it's now the existing light. So with the analyze, it takes it depends. Sometimes we have time because it's important to have this information and think about it and think how we can do with that information a project. I think in that project we have around 6 months to analyze that. And then the idea is how to lit this nice building, this nice square, but most of all, how to respond to the user's need. So you will see in a little video just after that how we try to do a lighter building, because as I say before, the building was very impressive by day. It's a big building and very nearby of the facade. So we try to put it lighter with some details and light from inside. So the video. So as you see, a small stop to express an idea. It's sometimes very simple. You see, this sketch was very simple, and the idea was lighting this place with a small pieces of light, working on the road on the side, and created on the square on the side of the building some kind atmosphere. So you see here in a reference picture that is a common way for lighting designer to express how they can present a project. So you see that in the architectural way, we want to lead some little details, some place from inside, and to have a very light atmosphere. And then after, for the square, we try to do also something very an atmosphere very comfortable for the square just nearby the town hall. And you will see we respond to the need of the asking of the people to have some color sometimes. So that's the Photoshop image. We don't do in each project a Photoshop image. Sometimes we only do the little sketch in the little video that I've showed before. But here the city asked for a Photoshop image, so we express how we can lead this building. It was before doing the work, so it's a challenge when you show this picture. Then after you must do it like this, so it's a challenge. But as you see, the idea was to do a different light in the weekend than in the week and in the weekend. That is the picture of the week. And as you see also, there is the light in the windows because there is a lot of activity by night in the town hall in the week. And I will explain later the idea of the projection just on the front of the building, and the colors arrived in the weekend only, because also when we analyzed the activity, we saw that it was more activity on weekends, so we can do that. Then after is the technical work to see, well, we have the idea of letting some details, and then after we must work and say, well, which details, which one, what does it mean with the story of the building, with the architecture. So it's also very important. So we choose also to lead more the front facade, because as you remember, maybe in the first, the way of the town hall is put on the place is just in front of a main road, so it's very important. Then the other facade, we lead it less than the other. And then, as every lighting designer, we do tests because we have idea, then we must test it on site to be sure about the photometrical, the color of the light, and the place that we can put the fixture. So it's very important to do that. And then after the results, that is the final result of the town hall. So you see the idea of the inner light and the small details. We work also. We're gonna see, I think, in other picture, but we work also in the top. We have little boards on the top of the building, and we lit it. And while in also the phases of a project, there is the opening. It was very important for this district to have this the new, because you saw before it was like in the dark in sodium light, and then after what we changed also, they were very proud about that. So you see also the different angle of when you see the building. It's why it's very important to analyze the site and to be very concerned about how we can have a perception of the place. Here you have the view of a drone, and it's very. If you remember the little film, the sketch, that is the reality after. Then you have the nearby square. We decided to lit it with small poles with little very warm light to have a cool atmosphere for this place. Then some details to have also the idea of being lighter for this building. And then I finish with that. You remember the poles of the historical picture of the beginning, and if you remember also the picture of the stained glasses. That's the inspiration for this part of the project. We decided to put a big poles that is like a remember of the past of this first electrical poles in Belgium, and we use it to put, of course, projector for lighting the town hall, but also to have in the entrance of this town hall some projections, and to choose which kind of element could be interesting to put there. We choose to have like an abstraction of the stained glasses that we have seen before, which the colors of this stained glass was green, red, and white. So we decided to do that. And as you remember in the opening, it was very nice. And after that, I come back a few times on site, and the children are very happy to play on that place. So it's some of remind of the past in another way. So you see how we see this fragment of stained glasses on site. So thank you.
Thank you, Isabelle. That was a really good journey through like how an architectural project works. I'll kick off with a question. You've saying that you've Radiance's over 20 years. Have you seen a difference from then to now in kind of clients' attitude to lighting or understanding of lighting?
Yes, well, it's also linked with the energetical crisis, because with architectural lighting we are everyone see us. So 2 years ago they start to say to us, we're gonna switch off all the light of the architectural building, but then after we explain how it also important in a way for user also to give them some verticality, to have a more pleasant atmosphere on site. So we convince some cities to switch on again some place. Then after, of course, because we work in urbanism, in lighting master plan, and so we are also very concerned now with the idea of obscurity, of darkness for biodiversity. And so now it's even more important to do participatory methods, because to go in the dark, you must understand how far the people want to go in the dark. And not doing that with participatory tools, you maybe lost some project of darkness. So we are more and more, for example, we work a lot in Switzerland. They are very concerned about darkness, but we work a lot on site with people to understand how far we can go.
Thank you. Do we have any questions in the audience? I can't see any hands up.
I can see
here we go.
two. Yeah.
From time to time, new squares or buildings, because they like it on a regular basis to get the city really lightful.
Well, it depends of the countries. We work in 3 different countries, in Belgium, in France, and in Switzerland. So it depends. For example, in Belgium, we start later on architectural building than, for example, France. So they ask us, we have new project for architectural lighting. For example, in Brussels, we have a lot of projects with Horta, Art Nouveau architecture, so they want to lead them, but it's very interesting also how we know in 2023 we lead this building because we ourselves, we changed the way of lighting this building in a way that we lead with less light. It's very different, I think. And in the other countries, for example, in Switzerland, they are more interesting in landscape architecture in a way of places, some parks, bridges, but with a very low level. And in France, it's just in between.
Okay, thank you.
I think there's another question there, Linnea. Thank you.
Just wondering, do you ever go to cities and ask to do their lighting, or is it always the client coming to you?
We are lucky because it's always the clients that goes to us, because well, now we are known in the lighting design community, so we don't need, but I remember even in the beginning it was not it's public offer, so we have almost 10% of our work just private clients, so it's public. So we see on the publication the offer, the competition. So we work like this. So we don't need to go to the client to convince them to work.
I was going to ask you about that as well. You mentioned that Antwerp was a competition. Can you tell us a bit more how that works, how you find out about it, what you have to do to enter? How many people you're competing against?
Well, it depends of the amount of course of the project, because there is legality. But in that case, it was in many cases we are not very the amount of the that we have is not very high. So the city can ask to 3 or 5 lighting designer. So it depends of the project. Some project, in this project, it was only we must write methodology notes and some first ideas and a prize.
Yeah.
And I remember we were 4 in this competition. In some bigger competition, for example, the station of Antwerp, they do a first level of selection, and so we were 3 after that, Kevin Shaw, Susanna Antico, and Radiant 35. That way it's Susanna that won the competition, but after the first selection we must do some first project that was paid. So it's different. For the project of this small square, it was not paid, the competition, because they ask little thing. But for the station of Antwerp, they ask a lot of things, so they paid.
Excellent.
Has anyone else got a question in the audience? Feeling very shy.
I don't think so.
Okay, I've just one last one then from me, because you've mentioned you know, about the history, about analysing the site, about the users, and all the different stages of it. I think the only thing that budget, I guess, sort of is important to mention, that you've got all those restrictions and all those steps to go through, but then you've also got limited, or I don't know, a huge amount.
No.
Can you mention something a little bit about the budget for that project?
Yeah, of course. I didn't mention it, but of course we have a budget of the city. But you know, for example, we work now in the opera of Antwerp. We won the competition. One it was for Susanna, one it was for me. And for example, we had a budget, and our project, as I say, that now we imagine budget with project with less light. At the end, we were below the budget of the city. So sometimes, because we are very now in a way of thinking what is very important, what is very the simple way of expressing the light. So for us, it's not a problem, the budget, but we have a budget. Of course, we have a budget. We have also, it's very, in Belgium, it's very with some rules of kind of materials. We cannot choose. We have catalogs of the city, so we are very with a lot of rules, but it's not a problem for doing this kind of project.
Yeah, I think it's really important to sort of say that in architectural lighting, there are so many restrictions.
Yeah.
I mean, you've mentioned the sort of big movement about, you know, light pollution and protecting the night sky, and then there's a big movement about circular economy and making sure the luminaires that we use are, you know, are coming from a good source and will live on again. So there's all these other parts to it. Very complicated. You're doing a very good job on that thing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks,
Thank
Isabelle.
you.
So we're going to take a... Yeah.
Oh.
Thank you.
Hey.